I'm Weston. I love talking about the Astros, and I'm here to talk about Game 54 of the regular season. Astros win 5-1 over the Boston Red Sox. And the Astros actually have done a thing called win more than one game in a row, which is quite an achievement, especially given what happened during the weekend and going into it. So, this is Game 54 of the regular season, which we are now 1/3 of the way done, which is kind of crazy to me, because at this point, Game 1 of the regular season feels like simultaneously a very distant memory of like 2 years ago and simultaneously like it just happened. Like it feels as if we just got done with the Oakland series. It does not feel whatsoever like it's now been over about 2 months since that game, which is kind of strange. But we're already a third of the way done, which is weird. Anyway. So, Luis Garcia gets the start on the mound. He had a magnificent night, maybe his best start as an Astro. And the offense wasn't too shabby either. So, first inning, first batter for the Astros, Jose Altuve launches one up to the train tracks. Altuve, very different home run than yesterday. This one did not need any help. Gone, goodbye, see ya later home run, 1-0 Astros. Jose Altuve has fit into the the leadoff position just so well. It's really exciting to see how well he's slotted in there. It's fantastic to see him, because I was terrified about the missing Springer, not having him there anymore. I was like, man, what are the Astros going to do there? And then I heard, well, we're going to put Altuve there, and I'm like, I like that move, and that is who I think it should be. But man, oh man, last year Jose Altuve was just not himself. But man, this season he is the Altuve we know and love. Batting over 300, on base, right about the 360, 370 area, which is pretty normal for Altuve. He had a very good on-base night tonight. Yes, you might say, well, Weston, he only was like 1 for 2, and I would say, yes, he had 3 walks, however, and walks are basically singles. Short singles, but singles nonetheless. Anyway, so that happened in the first inning. In the fourth, the Astros attack on another one. Yordan Alvarez, in his return to play, would double. Yuli was also back tonight, which is great, and right after that, he would walk. Tucker would ground out but move the runner, so an effective out. Tucker, by the way, has been on fire in the past little bit. McCormick with a sac fly to make it a 2-0 game, and then Straw would strike out. In the fifth, Marwin Gonzalez, old Margot himself, and coming back to Houston with the Red Sox, which when I saw him yesterday, I was like, wait, Marwin Gonzalez is on the Red Sox? Like, what? I know it's a while ago, but I was still in the mindset of that he was on the Twins, which I say a while ago, that was last year. But it was kind of strange for me to see him on the Red Sox. So he would ground out, score a run, make it a 2-1 ball game. And by the way, I thought Luis Garcia had a rather good fifth inning. I know it was, you might say, oh, you gave up a run. First and third, no out. I'm just happy he only gave up the one. Like, that is a total win in my book for him getting out of there with only the 1 run. Then in the seventh, sort of a flurry of stuff happened to give the Astros a 3-run inning. So Tucker would single, McCormick would reach on an error, Straw with a fielder's choice, but then the throw would be way yanked into the dugout. Run would score, Straw would be at second, Maldonado would then walk, and then the weirdest part of the evening happens. An intentional walk to Jose Altuve. Now, intentionally walking Jose Altuve to get to a lesser opponent. Very good idea. Jose Altuve has been one of the best hitters over the past decade in Major League Baseball. He's been very consistent with the occasional outlier one way or another, but overall, he's right about the same area every single year. So that makes sense. Why wouldn't you want to walk him? But you're not getting to a lesser opponent. You're getting to a guy named Carlos Correa, who is one of the better hitting shortstops in the all of Major League Baseball, but specifically over the last 15 games, has an on-base percentage of over 500. It's over a coin flip. Like, pitchers over the last 15 games, soon to be the last 20 games against Carlos Correa, would have a better odds if they flipped a coin to get him out or not than if they actually pitched to the guy. And, oh, ding, ding, knock, knock, it's Carlos Correa. Shohei is back. He walks to give a run to the Astros to make it a 4-1 ball game. Bregman would strike out, but then Yordan on a weird fielder's choice where they thought, oh, we can get Maldonado at home. And Maldonado said, ha ha ha, but when I am heading home from third, I am no slow person. And he would then score to make it a 5-1 ball game. After that, Yuli Gurriel would then ground out, and the Astros would move on. A good eighth inning, from Brooks Raley. And then the bottom of the eighth happened, and the Astros would load the bases, and then they would leave them loaded. And at that moment, there's a thing called what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, yes, the very brief history, the very recent history of the Houston Astros said, hey, Weston, guess what? It's time to have anxiety because you guys just loaded the bases. And I'm like, yeah, but we have a 4-run lead. That's not going to disappear. And then my anxiety said, but Weston, you're forgetting. You gave up a 3-run lead with 2 outs in the 9th inning just a couple days ago. And I said, why would you bring that up? That makes me very depressed. And even though we had Stanek, I was still mortified in the 9th inning. I'm like, no, we're not going to be able to get out of this. Like, we're going to have to pay for it, right? We can't load the bases and not get anything out of it in the 8th inning. We got to pay for this, right? And then Stanek said, no, you're good. I got you guys. He got us out. Relatively good inning for Stanek. Pair of strikeouts, no base runners. Astros dust off the batting gloves, and they say, hey, we've won 3 straight, including 2 against the Boston Red Sox, who are a fantastic team. And 1 against the Padres, who might just be the best team in Major League Baseball, which is very surprising. This team can only be described as whiplash. You lose 3 of 4, 2 of them in actually all 3 of them in horribly embarrassing fashion, but 2 of them in a very different embarrassing fashion than the other one. Then you win a game against the Padres, which is, great. That's what you want to do. Pretty good win. They blow out the Red Sox yesterday, and then they do a smaller scale, but relatively a blowout tonight. And it's like, I'm fine with whatever you are. Like, I am a fan of a very good team, the Astros, over the past few years, a very bad team, the Jets, over the past few years, and the Rangers, who have been pretty middle of the pack the past few years. Like, I'm okay with whatever you are. But the Astros don't know on any given night whether they're going to be a fantastic team or a team that makes you want to bawl your eyes out. So, pitching lines, and then I'll get into some final thoughts. Luis Garcia, 7 innings of work, masterful innings, might I say. 5 hits allowed, 1 run is all, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. Brooks Raley came in, and he had a nice inning of work. No hits, no runs, no walks, with a strikeout. And Ryan Stanek, no hits, no runs, no walks, pair of strikeouts. Magnificent for them. The final thoughts are the pitchers did wonderful tonight. No complaints whatsoever out of the bullpen, which feels very strange to say. At any moment, I expect the Twilight Zone theme to come on, and then a commercial break immediately after it. We had good innings out of the bullpen. Like, it didn't wet the bed for us. I don't know. The Astros have had a absurd run recently of starting pitchers going with unbelievable marks. Another great start, a gem by Luis Garcia. Probably his best as an Astro, really. Brooks Raley, fantastic game, fantastic inning of work for him. And Ryan Stanek was the good Ryan Stanek, the Ryan Stanek that I am comfortable with coming out of the bullpen. And offensively, Altuve, while only going, 1 for 3 or 1 for 2, had 3 walks with the RBI of the run. Obviously, that was from the home run. A very, very good night for Altuve. Correa had the bases loaded walk. He did go 0 for 4 other than that, but he had the bases loaded walk, which is, pretty good. Yordan Alvarez, in his return, had a pair of hits, an RBI, and a run scored, which is great from him. Yuli with Gurriel was back, and he wasn't magnificent or anything, but it's still nice to have that guy back in the lineup. Kyle Tucker continues to just absolutely rake at the plate, a 3 for 4 night with a run scored, which now, if I pull it up, let me scroll on down to these numbers, because they are some beautiful numbers. Chef's kiss. A 311 batting average and a 373 on base over the past 15. But if you want to take that out over the last 30, he has been even more fantastic. 305 batting and a 397 on base. And man, oh man, is it good to see Kyle Tucker finally hitting the way he should have been. Because if you're like me, right, I use peripheral numbers. I like to use expected batting average, expected on base. I like to use the hard hit percentage, all the really dorky nerd stats on Baseball Savant. But after a while, you can't just be a person screaming like, yeah, but if you look at those little numbers on a sheet, I swear to God, he's a good player. He's good. I swear he is. Look at the numbers. Look at these numbers on a sheet. But after a while, you start to sound like an insane person who's like, no, I really saw a UFO. I swear to God, I did. You start to sound like an insane person. Like, yeah, that's great if you have good expected numbers and good numbers on paper, but after a while, you really need to have that work out for you. And again, I am not by any means saying that anything that happened earlier in the season was Kyle Tucker's fault. He was fantastic. He was doing everything right. But as a fan defending him, you start to sound a bit insane after a while of like, oh, he's supposed to be batting 278. Then why is he batting a $151? Like, you start to sound insane after a while. So it's great to see him starting to come alive. 3-hit night for him tonight. Man, oh man. Now up to a 250 on the season batting average for him, and his season total for on base. He also has 11 home runs this year. Kyle Tucker, quiet, absolute slugger, man. His on base now is up over 318, and that is only going to get better as the season goes along. Again, like, what people don't understand, and I think this is a perfect show for the Astros. Like, the season would be about over last year. This would be the final week last season in the 60-game marathon that was 2020. Like, this is why baseball is a game where you have to play more than just 60 or 70 games. Like, you got to play 100+ in baseball. Because Kyle Tucker, horrible start to the season. Now he's starting to come out of it. Now his numbers are starting to get good. A couple of players in the Astros that started either really hot or really cold, and now they're starting to, slowly climb the mountain to not being too rough. And Kyle Tucker is a great example of that, and why last year was just sort of a wreck to judge any players who had bad performances on, because it's really, really hard to rebound if you have a bad start. Like, you have a horrible first month, and that's half the season. You have a horrible first month this year, and you still got, all of May, June, July, August, and September to build yourself back up after that rough start, which is what Kyle Tucker's been doing here masterfully, if I might also say. So that's it. This was a great game by the Astros. I have no complaints whatsoever. We have now, at the very minimum, split the series against Boston, which is, if I'm being honest, more than I thought we would, because I kind of thought Boston was going to, at the very least, take 3 of the 4. So the fact that we have split it is fantastic. Tomorrow we play them again at 8:10 Eastern Standard Time. That is 7:10 Pacific. Not Pacific, Central Time, excuse me. And we will have your beloved pitcher of the show, Framber Valdez, taking the mound after his very, very good start Friday. 4 innings of 1-run baseball. He'll be starting tomorrow, going in with a 2.25 ERA. Hopefully, his good pitching performance tomorrow night, if it is a good performance, please, I hope it is. Hopefully that one will be rewarded with a win, unlike Friday's, which was rewarded with that blown game, which I don't want to talk about that any more than we already have. Anyway, thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Stros.